If you had to survive off of $7.25 an hour, do you believe you could? Well, let's break down this number even more. $7.25 an hour, if you were to work a 40-hour work week, would equate to $290 a week. If you were to do that for an entire month, that would equate to $1,160. Now, if you were to do that for 12 months or an entire year, you're looking at just under $14,000 a year. Now you might be thinking, that doesn't sound like a lot. Well, it's really not. Because if we throw in a couple more variables, like your gas and your groceries, people usually do these on a weekly basis. Now, if we were to do that on a weekly basis, paying anywhere between $40 to $50 a week just for gas, and then another $100 to $150 a week for groceries to maintain a healthier lifestyle, there's already on the low end $150. That's already half of your paycheck gone just in order to survive and go to work. Now, what is $7.25? That is the U.S. national minimum wage. Now, minimum wage throughout our history used to have a lot more ground and a lot more meaning, but unfortunately, that is no longer the case. Now, why is that? Well, that is because our inflation rate has increased so rapidly without minimum wage being able to combat it, that it has actually devalued what our minimum wage truly is. So I would like today to persuade you to increase minimum wage so we are able to combat the rapid increase of inflation. And what I would do and how I would do that would be by talking briefly about the history of our inflation and our minimum wage, as well as talking about the benefits of increasing minimum wage when it comes to work efficiency as well as working staff mood, and the possibilities of increasing minimum wage without having to increase the inflation rate. So I'll start off with the issue, which is inflation. Now, as we know, inflation has been increasing non-stop and minimum wage has struggled to keep up. If we were able to put this into a staircase kind of diagram, we would see that the inflation staircase would be at a much more steeper incline than in comparison to minimum wage. And this has caused the value of minimum wage to decrease. According to the Cornell Law School, which is a small research group that collaborates with local scholars, computer scientists, and government agencies called the Legal Information Institute, explained the purpose of minimum wage, which is to be the minimum amount an employee can make in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle and well-being. So inflation and minimum wage once grew together. Now, that is no longer the case. I have right here a diagram to further emphasize this drastic change. So right here we have our minimum wage, and as we can tell, it's increasing, which is good. But right here is its peak back in 1968 at $1.60. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but if we were to put that into 2023 dollars, that's $12.12. Now that's more than we're making now. And if we were to keep increasing at this trajectory, if we were to keep doing that, it would be $25 an hour in order to be qualified as minimum wage, which is a lot more than it is now. Because as we can see, as after its peak, it has declined. Yes, there's been little bloops of increasing, but overall it has decreased. But then right here, we see it had a small peak again, but it has a red line of digression. Now what is this right here? Well, this is the last time our minimum wage has been increased, and that is back in 2009. Now, because it has no longer increased, it has digressed. Now, how is that possible? Now, that is only possible because minimum wage has stopped and inflation has kept on going, which caused our minimum wage to devalue as the value of the dollar has also devalued. Now, minimum wage not being able to keep up with the rate of inflation has had a negative impact on employees falling under the poverty line. I have some statistics for this one as well. According to the United States Census Bureau, updated in January 2023, there's a number here, 11.7%, or 37.9 million people. Now that is 37.9 U.S. Americans that are under the poverty line, struggling day to day to survive. Now that is because they are unable to survive off of this minimum wage. They are unable to support their families because minimum wage is not able to support them. But there was a study done by Jennifer Romick who has a bachelor's and master's in economics, and Heather D. Hill, who has a PhD in human development and social policy. And they wrote an article called Coupling a Federal Minimum Wage Hike with Public Investments to Make Work Pay and Reduce Poverty. And this was published in 2018. And this study explained how increasing minimum wage just to $12 an hour would put a family of 4 above the poverty line. Now, financial wage affects not only the money you make, but it also affects your mental state of employees. Now, increasing minimum wage has shown to decrease depressive symptoms and alcohol consumptions. It is also shown to increase morale. According to the article by Aaron Reeves and David Stuckler, who are both members of the Department of Sociology, as well as Martin McKee, John Mackenbach, and Margaret Whitehead, who are all members of the Department of Public Health, called The Introduction of National Minimum Wage of Depressive Symptoms in Low-Wage Workers, which was republished in 2017, participants who had to increase of 10% of their wages, minimum wage, showed less signs of depressive symptoms, as well as a decrease of alcohol consumption. And I have some more graphs here to show. So as we see here, we have a study done for those who received the increase in minimum wage and those who have not received the increase in minimum wage. As we can see here with this graph, those who who did not receive the minimum wage actually showed a heightened strain, but those who just received 10% increase in their minimum wage have shown a less increase of a strain, which shows that the increase of minimum wage has decreased the strain. Now we see here that those with a smaller graph here, these are the ones who received the 10% increase, and these are the ones who did not. And this is for cigarettes smoked. Now, cigarettes have a psychedelic effect to reduce stress throughout the body. Now, what we see here is a increase right here. Now, this is to the people who obviously did not receive the increase of minimum wage. But those who did showed a significant decrease in smoking. Now, that graph showed that increasing minimum wage has done a study to show that it decreases symptoms of depression, as well as alcohol consumption and drug use. Now, although there are many positives to increasing minimum wage, as discussed previously, the only way to be able to do this is by increasing minimum wage throughout the employers. So employers have to understand that their employees need to be able to survive. So they need to be able to potentially take a little bit of a pay cut in order for their employees to survive. And doing this would actually potentially make them even more money, because their staff would be able to work more and work harder because they have a little bit more initiative to do so. And also, we would have to put a pause on some taxes. Now, putting a 2-year pause on these taxes, which was discussed by Heather, who did the study over getting people over the poverty line, actually said that it would enable them to get slightly ahead so that they would no longer struggle with their financial status when it comes to their minimum wage. Now, putting a pause on the taxes would automatically help people get out of the poverty line and keep their money increasing, and will not have the counter effect that would happen if we were to implement taxes to those who are making more money. So in conclusion, my goal here was to persuade you that increasing minimum wage is necessary to combat the rapid increase of inflation, and I hopefully did that by describing how drastic our inflation rate has been in comparison to our minimum wage, as well as the benefits of increasing minimum wage when it comes to our work efficiency and our worker staff morale, and even the potential possibilities. So